All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CEO channel. I am John the Bomb. Building others means business. Hey, and I'm back with a phenomenal guest today. Super excited as my wife introduced me to Cathy, and excited because in our neighborhood, Naperville, Illinois, she's really been dominating and doing some incredible things in the community. Has been a business serial entrepreneur for many, many, many years. And you're going to learn a lot today about just the wisdom that it takes, the ingenuity of communicating with other people, and everything it is about business as we do on the Go for CEO channel. So Cathy Subber, welcome to the Go for CEO channel. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, John. I'm excited for the conversation.
Excited too as well. So a lot of times we like to start with the interview to go into kind of the ideation side. Obviously some people jump right into entrepreneurship. Some people kind of take different zigs and zags, but would love to just hear a little bit about kind of what you started thinking when you started the first business, and then some of the other outlets that you've been able to build over the last few decades.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I am a chiropractor, and when I was going through school, I never thought I would have my own business. That was not necessarily a goal of mine. I just thought, well, at some point I'll get a job and I'll help patients. And my now ex-husband and I were engaged when we graduated. And so we actually opened up what now is Advanced Health of Naperville, which is my practice here. I've been in business for 22 years now. And I really kind of jumped into it because he wanted to own his own business. So we practiced for 8 years together. We had 3 practices when we got divorced in 2008. And so we closed one of them because it was just too much to manage. We had 2 little boys that were 2 and 3 years old. And so I took over the Naperville practice, and he took over the Oak Brook practice, which he still has today. Right around that time, and the story is too long to get into, but there was a Medicare law change that stopped allowing chiropractors to bill physical therapy, which was about 75% of our revenue.
Oh, wow.
And it ended like in a letter, like, hey, by the way, you're no longer allowed to get paid for this. And it destroyed us. And we're going through a divorce. And so I had like $100 to my name. My dad and stepmother hooked me up with a little apartment. We sold our house. It was not a super fun time. And I came super close to closing the practice because in my mind, I wasn't an entrepreneur. I couldn't do this all by myself. And I was about a week away from signing paperwork to close my practice and to join another local chiropractic company. And something inside of me just went, no, not going to do that. I can do this. And I don't know where that came from. It was a really low point in my life. So I look back today and think, man, had I not had that moment, it was just a shift. And I'm like, I'm going to claw my way out of this devastating space. And I did a little faking it till you make it, right? I put on the face and I went out and I got re-engaged in the Chamber of Commerce. I jumped on a couple of boards that I'd been asked to be on with the JCs and Kids Matter and a number of other organizations locally. And in my downtime, because I only had my kids 50% of the time, I just was out networking and building relationships and volunteering. And within about 2 years, I had been able to build the practice to higher than we had ever built it together. I just had a new refined energy, a new refined spark, and I rebranded as me, so the colors changed and the logo changed and the name changed. And so that's the beginning of how I became an entrepreneur. And then I just caught the freaking bug.
That's awesome. And it's so many times you hear these incredible stories and you wonder, what's that light switch? What's that pivotal moment? And, like you said, in the midst of chaos, you just kind of almost basically looked in the mirror and said, hey, hold on a second, Cathy, you're worth it. Like,
Yeah.
you can do this. Like, there's no reason to go backwards, right? And some people do have to kind of maybe take a step back to go 2 steps forward, but awesome stuff. And chiropractic business, I had my first interview on the Go for CEO channel was actually a gentleman that Dr. Clausen out of the Health Doctors, and it's been interesting to see that journey as well. Excuse me. But I'd love to just hear. So you take that determining step, you get that mindset ready, right? Mm-hmm. What are some activities that are within those networking opportunities? Because there is always that entrepreneur thing that there's no paycheck coming on Friday. So how did you balance the renewed spirit and then the networking to conversion scenario? Like, how did you handle some of those things?
So when I started the practice in 1999, I mean, the only game in town was the Chamber of Commerce. And so I joined it the day we opened up our practice, and I got involved immediately. And, I think I see a lot of younger folks or people newer in business. They come to the chamber or any type of organization where you can network. They come to everything for 3 months, and then you never see them again. And here's why I think that happens is they think that business is going to immediately come. And so I went into networking instead of, everyone's networking on some level to build a business, right? There's obviously that component of it, but I went into it like, how can I serve? How can I volunteer? How can I help the community? And for me, it was a mindset of building a long-term relationship with my community. And that was the focus. And when that's the focus, I think you come off more authentically, if that's really where your heart is. Mm-hmm. So I just built friendships. And some of those friendships are ones that I talk to on a weekly basis still. And that was from, 22 years ago that I started. So I always feel like if I can go to an event and I can create 1 or 2 good new connections. Maybe we connect on Facebook, maybe we go for coffee, maybe we share a common interest and send a couple articles back and forth. But if I can leave that with 1 or 2, then I feel like I've accomplished a relationship building goal of mine. So that's really what I did throughout everything. And as I kind of jumped up in leadership, sitting on boards, and I was the chairman of the board for the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce in 2013. I just learned so much about being a good person and making great friends, and also that professional development part where, especially through the chamber, they had a lot of programming for marketing, advertising, lead sourcing. They always have something that you could go to that you could learn to as well.
Oh, and there's a lot of investment, right? They call it lifetime value of a relationship, right? I just had a conversation, I believe, and talked about that initial, want to sell someone something because maybe you saw the service in what they were saying, like, hey, I can solve that issue, especially as a chiropractor. You have something that literally immediately you could change someone's life, right? But what you did was really kind of practice that discipline. And you had a little bit of an established business already. So maybe some of that cash flow helped and all that type of stuff. I think it's an interesting dynamic between, that being in a job mentality to then entrepreneurship mentality, and then kind of switching of how fast can you get paid, or how do you bring in that revenue, right? So tell us a little bit about, obviously you're building this wellness practice, this chiropractic practice, and you made the decision. What are some outside marketing efforts? So like obviously networking and those things kind of get you into those relationship building side. What tools are you using? Were you, back in the early stages starting to use Google, or have you transitioned more recently into online type things? Or are you more of a kind of internal referral mechanism system?
Sure. So it's interesting because way back when I started the practice, I really built the business through networking, through the chamber. Today you walk in, there's 5 chamber members that are like, are we having a meeting? What's going on? Why are we all here? And then it transitioned when Facebook started. I joined as soon as they allowed non-college people to join Facebook. And it was, there was nothing to the network back in, say, 2009. But that happened to be the same time that Naperville Moms started, which turned into the Branch Moms community, which is the moms community I run. And what's interesting now is, I would say when I look at our new patients that come in the door, about maybe 40-50% are from the Branch Moms community. About another 40% are direct referrals from our patients or our friends in the community. And then the rest come in they just found our website, so to speak. So I would say 90% of the business that walks in our door really is from the relationships that I've built through networking or through running the moms community.
Wow,
So I don't, we have a website where we we try to keep current with things like that, but I don't pay for any advertising. I don't send out a lot of stuff through the branch. Like I don't send out email blasts. Every once in a, maybe once a year I will, but it's really just building those relationships. And then we have a mom forum group that has 27,000 members on it that 6 times a month, someone asks for a chiropractor. And so let's say we get done taping this podcast and I look at my phone and I see 7 people have tagged you on the branch and they're all patients of mine. I know immediately that someone has asked for a chiropractor. And so, and so I then go and say, hi, I'm Dr. Cathy. I actually run this moms community, but I also own Advanced Health of Naperville. We have 3 awesome doctors and 4 massage therapists. And so really it's just being present in those online forums. And it's just strange that the moms community I run and the practice are very symbiotic for one another, which that wasn't my intention when I took over Naperville Moms Network 10 years ago.
Well, I picked up on 2 key words: presence, right? Being present and being available to communicate, to share, to give value first, right? And then obviously it's come back to you 20 times, 100 times fold for you. And then symbiotic, right? So I love that transition. That was really good there, really good. So the chiropractic,
John.
That's right, chiropractic business into the Branch Moms Network, which is where my wife met you, and through our 3 kids and raising them in Naperville and being a part of All Saints Academy and all these things. It's interesting to that she'll always get like a tidbit or a suggestion, or she'll give something out there in the community. So she's super excited about it. And she's like, you got to meet Cathy, you got to meet Cathy. So Gopher CEO community, you're learning a ton from a lady that's really built an incredible just substance within a community. And that's the notes I would be taking. So let's now dive into the Branch Moms Network, because I think it's so cool that you've been able to marry both of them and have just extreme value on both sides. So tell us a little bit about the Branch Moms Network. How did that develop, and where are you taking it? What's the vision of it?
Okay. So it started in 2009 by a woman who I originally met through the chamber, who had been relocated in Naperville with her husband for his work. And she didn't have a lot of friends in town. She came to work for me part-time, just doing a little bit of marketing, a little bit of, refilling the ultrasound gel type of stuff. She was 6 months pregnant, and she came to me and said, can I meet with you? I said, sure. We went in my office, closed the door, and she said, you are going to think I'm crazy, but I wake up every night with a dream that I'm supposed to start an online community for local moms. I was like, okay, well, that doesn't sound that crazy. I'm like, tell me more about it. She's like, I'm 6 months pregnant. I have no family in town. I don't have one friend that's pregnant. I don't have one friend that just had a baby. I have a million questions, and I keep looking online and I can't find local resources, local recommendations. So my brain wakes me up at 3 a.m. So I was like, I think that's awesome. You should do it. And she's like, I don't have any money. I was like, well, you need your first business sponsor then. And I gave her a little check for just a couple $100. And she then made a logo, a business card. She hosted this small website. And this is right when I joined Facebook. I think I joined Facebook within months of this starting. So Facebook wasn't what it was today. And so local moms clearly didn't have a place to connect with one another, because through completely organic grassroots, handing out business cards to moms at Target. Kelly grew this community. I remember like a month in, I was like, you have 100 members, Kelly. And then a year later, she had 1,000 local mom members on this community called Naperville Moms Network.
Wow.
And then in 2011, she got transferred to Austin, Texas with her husband. So she came to me in tears saying, I can't run Naperville Moms Network for Austin, Texas. We're not coming back here. So really as a passion project, I was like, well, I don't want this to stop. Like we're, this is amazing. Moms are connecting. They're sharing all these stories of, kind of like, I've lived here for 14 years and this is the first time I feel like I can make friends. It was such a wonderful service to the community. So I took it over and I was a full-time chiropractor then. And it again, just organically and with watering it and seeding it and giving it some sunshine, it just grows on its own. And so as it has grown, I've had to manage the growth and I had to figure out, I'm like, okay, well now I'm spending tens of thousands of my own money to host this per year. And so I had to come up with, all right, I either can charge members or I need to connect with local businesses for advertising and marketing. And I chose that route because I'm in the business community. I know a lot of local businesses. I was already getting inquiries from the Park District and local preschools and the local bank about, hey, we've got this event. Can I send an email out with you? And so I kind of just made that up. I don't know, made it up as I went along. But so now today it has close to 60,000 members and 16 wow. Facebook groups, and we have a full website and an e-newsletter that goes out once a week and a blog and events for moms and kids. And I'm kind of blown away by what it's become. And at this point, I adjust about 1 to 2 patients a week. And I have 3 doctors that work for me full time. And I run the Branch Moms community as my full-time job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. What a cool experience, right? And especially from the birth of someone that is pregnant and kind of has this vision. I think a lot of people don't listen to that intuition, don't listen to, or get scared and they're like, but you were kind of like that guardian angel, right? That shared with her a few $100 investment and look what it's become. And it's really thriving on both sides. So look, a lot of people may be wondering, well, how does this lady do all this stuff? Like, I mean, she's running a business, a chiropractic business, very successful, 3 doctors, multiple thousands of, patients coming through. And now you got 60,000 members over here. So what are some things that you did just operationally that you started learning with your chiropractic business first, and then with the Branch Moms to develop good sound operations so that you wouldn't always be in the business, but working on the business?
So there's 2 points that I'm going to share. And one of them is really the primary thing is delegation, is learning how to give up control of things that you don't love to do. I'm a really big believer in working in your flow and working at your highest level and working at the things that come naturally to you. I remember my dad always said, he's like, you can either spend your time working on your strengths or working on your weaknesses. If you work on your strengths, you're going to have extraordinary strengths. If you work on your weaknesses, you're going to have crappy weaknesses. Like at some point, your weaknesses are never going to be your strengths. There's obviously things that don't fall in that category that you do need to work on, but I just quickly identify things that I procrastinate on. Because if I procrastinate on it, I know I don't like doing it. And so the first thing I ever really passed down was my billing for the practice. Allison's worked for me for 11 years. So 8 years ago, I was still manually doing all of our billing. So now we see about 200 patients a week, but back then it was probably, I don't know, even 100, whatever. But I would manually put in every single code and every single diagnosis. And I was getting like weeks behind on my billing. And my billing lady was like, Cathy, why are you giving a free loan to Blue Cross Blue Shield? Like, what are you doing? And finally I was like, I hate this. I hate doing it. I don't look forward to it. So I passed it down to Allison, even though that was nerve-wracking. And I knew that every once in a while I was going to know that the code needed to be this and it should be that. And eventually she'd learn it. And that took 10 hours of work off of my plate a week. And then I just took those hours and said, all right, what do I love to do? I love to network. I love to get together with people. I love to do advertising and marketing for my practice, or at least post about it or things like that. So I just transitioned that time. So delegation. And I talk to business owners all the time that say it's their delegation is their weakness. And then they're so bogged down with the things they don't like to do. And then they're not freeing themselves up. The second thing, I've totally lost my train of thought.
It's all right.
I don't remember.
I'll tell you what, that delegation one is huge. You know, there's a great book, Cash Flow Quadrants by Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Robert Kiyosaki. And he talks about the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and the investor, the 4 quadrants. And it's interesting because you kind of dynamically shared in a way that you described, you know, a lot of people that you talk to are stuck in the self-employed box. You know, they're like, I have to do everything. It's my baby. Like I got to, you know, I got to know where this, and this, and it's so many hats. But if you really want to grow a business, that's how Amazon became Amazon, right? If Jeff Bezos would have never been one of the richest men in the world by just going, no, I want to do everything.
Right. So, I'm going to deliver all the packages.
Exactly. You know, I'm going to do all the software upgrades. I'm going to, you know, recruit all these, you know, extra merchants and all that stuff. So it's unbelievable. But even he, you know, started with a computer. 1994, saw the internet, and you know, moved on. So really awesome stuff. I love that great word, delegation. So community, go for CEO community. I think delegation, if you look it up in the Webster's dictionary or whatever you look up, you know, you'll see that that's one of those mindsets as an entrepreneur that you could really grow from. So awesome stuff. So, you know, operationally, you started doing delegation, you know, but then there's that weird little thing, you know, those people that start coming to respond to you or work for you, right? They're called employees, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, so how did you start handling that part? I know that obviously you and your former husband, you know, obviously built the business together and you made that decision. So what was it like transitioning to now leading people?
So, and I do remember my point, and it'll tie into this. You know, the first employee that we ever hired, I remember being really nervous because we didn't really have the money to do. We knew we needed it. We knew we needed to hire someone to grow, but it was that scary transition of like, oh, I don't quite have the budget for this. So another mindset I've taken up throughout the years is hire a person 6 months before you're financially ready to do it. And that is a big old leap of faith that has worked out 90% of the time for me. In my eyes, the first associate doctor that I ever gave a full-time associate position to, I didn't have the budget for, but I was exhausted. This is when I was in practice by myself. It was probably 10 years ago. And I was like, I can't continue to do this volume. I'm going to burn out. I need to hire someone, but I need to pay them a living wage. And I don't really have the money for it. And I remember I had a business coach back then, and I kind of was talking through things. And normally he just asked questions. And by the end of the session, I was like, so basically, if I don't hire him, what I'm saying to myself is, I don't believe my business is going to grow to the level to need him. And if I don't believe that, then my actions are going to create that. So it's a mindset of growth. It's a mindset of expansion. It's a mindset of there's enough for everyone. And so every time I've had to take that leap of faith, I've remembered that moment of, do I believe this is going to grow to a place where I need it? And if the answer is always yes, because that's where my mindset is. So what's happened this year has been interesting. Last year, I tore tendons in my left elbow. It was a cooking injury. It's nothing exciting. I need a better story, but it really is an overuse injury. And I did one weird thing and picked up a pan wrong, and like a knife stabbed in my elbow. And I then took a little time off, and I kind of came back, and I was only adjusting, 20 patients a week maybe. And then this year I retore them adjusting a patient. And so I made the decision. I was like, I need to take months off. Months. I only tried to take weeks off the year before in 2020. And what happened during that time is I just started working on the business instead of in the business. And so I decided, all right, I've got this free time. What do I need to do? So I pulled apart every single piece of our operations, from our new intake form for a new patient to how are we answering the phones to do we have a document that a patient signs if they want us to keep their credit card on file to charge their copays for, so they don't have to give us a credit card every time. And I found a lot of, I would call, breaks in systems that I didn't know we had. It was like, well, where's the document that someone has to sign if they're going through a financially hard time and we give them a break on something, right? We don't charge them a full deductible. Legally, you have to have some. We didn't have a form for that. Hope you're not listening, insurance people, but we just didn't have it. We just offered it if it was necessary. So I just said, I'm going to go through every system and see how it is. And some of it was great, and some of it needed to change. Some of it needed to update. Some of it needed to be created. So it's been interesting. And I know you asked about employees. I have 11 employees. It takes up a lot of time to nurture that boss employee relationship. I really care about them. They are my family. And because of that, if people aren't getting along, or there's, someone's going through a really tough time at home, I try and bring that word present back. I try to be present, even though I'm not physically in the office all the time. And so that takes up a lot of my emotional energy, only because I really want to foster this great environment where they feel cared for. They feel as if I care about them as a human being more than I care about their ability to make the practice money. And that's evident in all of the decisions we make or the policies we have.
Well, you've answered like 4 or 5 different questions for entrepreneurs on that one. So I love it, from scaling to operations to growth to employee engagement. I mean, really, really neat stuff, and it's interesting because I know of one that we haven't even talked about, right? Cafe and Play, right? So
yeah.
So that was another one that, ladies and gentlemen, it was cool. Like, we'd bring our kids to it, and just, initial things that we don't necessarily get into that one, but it's interesting the variety of businesses that you've been in, Cathy, and just leading the community and the things that you've done. So impressive and so cool, and so honored to have you on the Go for CEO channel. So let's do this. One of the things that the way that we kind of wrap up our interviews is we go through the C, the E, and the O. So the first one is client experience. And you kind of touched on that. You really started to work on the business, and even from the new inpatient form to, that little tweak of, forgiveness on some of the deductible. So I'd love to go maybe into that client experience of what you feel is the differentiator in all the businesses that you run. Number 2, employee engagement, and we'll kind of go from there. So client experience, what do you think is that value proposition on your side?
So when I got into chiropractic because I hurt my back. I was a springboard diver when I was a teenager. And I did some crazy dive that I just learned, and I got nervous and didn't throw it properly and landed flat on my back. And anyway, had this really bad back issue. So I used to see a chiropractor, and it literally got me from, I was half debilitated to, oh my goodness, I have my whole life ahead of me now. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I used to go into his office, and he did not take appointments. So sometimes you pulled up to his office and there was 2 cars, and sometimes there were 20 cars. So I knew that when I started running my own practice, I wanted to make sure that there were certain ways that our patients had the experiences, certain experiences that they had. So we created kind of like our patient oath, and we have 10 things of it. And it's, we will run on time as much as we can. Like if we're 3 minutes behind, we're behind in the practice. So you're not sitting there waiting for 25 minutes to see the doctor. Things like, we will check your insurance. We will be completely upfront with you about the charges. We will take care of that insurance, and you'll always know what bills are coming. You're never going to be surprised by something. We'll let you know if chiropractic isn't the right care for you, and we will refer you out of the office. You don't have to sign a contract at our office. We're not going to give you, your next 36 visits the first day you walk into our office. Let's try a few visits and make sure we're on the right path. So my goal has always been for every patient to walk in the door because they want to be there and they know we're helping them, not because they signed up for some big treatment plan and feel like they can't get out of it. And we had someone a couple of years ago, she walked in the office, everyone's laughing. It's like kind of like a party there. It's so opposite of where many, the feel of many doctors' offices. And she came up to the front desk and she's like, you know what? She goes, I feel better as soon as I walk into the practice, just the energy in here. And then another patient was leaving one time and she was like, it's so happy here. She's like, this is the happy place to heal. And we took, I said, can I make that our tagline for our practice?
Wow.
So it's Advanced Health of Naperville, the happy place to heal. And
That's
so,
awesome.
you know, along with, you know, I'll lump the branch moms into that. Like what I want people to feel like is they're just surrounded by people that care about them. They're not alone. And they have this kind of sense of community, sense of, you know, secondary family when they walk in our doors or they're on our mom forum groups. So it doesn't really matter what the business is. It's the core of it is you're welcome here and you'll know it, you'll feel it. And that feels good.
The happy place to heal. That's pretty darn good tagline and branding, you know, behind that. So really simple too. And I mean, it tells exactly what you're going to experience. So really awesome stuff. Client experience for C. So let's go to E for employee engagement. I know you touched on obviously kind of that vision of being able to start growing. So what are some things that you do from a leadership perspective that really engages your employees?
So we do probably 3 times a year, we'll get together for some sort of, you know, after hours or some sort of, you know, I took them to like a wood shopping place where you can make those signs. We have our holiday parties coming up. We're going to go to Fogo de Chao and eat all the meats. And then also this year I was like, as my team is growing and like, I've never had 3 doctors before. So that's a new process for us. And so I hired a business coach and that was just an incredible investment. Her name is Tish Thompson, and she has been great. She's met with all the employees, and I was like, hey, anything you don't want to tell me, tell her. If I'm doing something that pisses you off, tell her. Like, let's flush out any, like, let's fine tune everything. It was this year of like growth and change. We did a build out at the office. So we built out 2 new rooms and redesigned the whole space. And so it was a really big year for employee engagement in a new way. And so I'm really happy with having a business coach because I know there's things that I might be too close to. So, you know, she can meet with people and she meets with my practice manager, Allison, on a monthly basis. And she's just been really wonderful.
Well, you know, another few nuggets there. So Go for CEO committee. I hope you heard the investment as a CEO and founder that, you know, Cathy made on a business coach, right? Because sometimes you need that, you know, second pair of eyes to look at it in a different way, from a different perspective and talking to people with a little bit more different type of voice, right? That they're getting. So that's awesome stuff. So awesome. Well, look, you know, the highlights of operational excellence, I know you brought to the table already. What do you think are just a couple more things that maybe kind of differentiate yourself when you think about operations and having excellence towards that?
I'm going to tell you, I'm not really sure. Like when you talk about operations, that sounds so corporate to me. Do you mean just the flow of the business? I'm not really sure what you mean by that.
No, and that's awesome. I think this is great conversation. So operations is really, you know, those systems that you're using, right?
Okay.
You know, how do you, you know, like you talked about new inpatient form, you have those 10 things that you look at to serve your client, right? But then everything has a process, right? From the way that it got input to knowing like within 24 hours, you're going to then send that HICFA form or whatever it's called to the insurance company. And I only know that because we used to be in mental health with my wife and, you know, doing some things. But, you know, those things of, you know, even payroll, right? That's an operation like, hey, on Thursday by 9 a.m., you get that payroll into your payroll service or maybe to your bookkeeper or whoever's taking care of your QuickBooks or whatever. Those are little operational things that I think that a lot of people, you know, sales brings in the volume and the revenue, right? And customers. But if you're not operationally sound, I mean, you could get destroyed pretty quickly. So any
So,
highlights on that?
yeah, so I think that goes back to the delegation part and also ties in making sure you're hiring correctly.
Mm,
And have the right person in the right role. My practice manager, Allison, is one of the most dynamic, unique individuals I've ever found within an employee standpoint. I mean, I adore her as a human being as well, but she is this amazing host of the practice and knows everyone's name and has a smile that goes on for hours and energy. We have a hashtag, everyone needs an Allison. And you know, a lot of the business owners that come in are like, if you ever let Allison go, I'm taking her, I'm getting her. I need an Allison. And so she manages a lot of that. So she's both this amazing host, and then she's super incredible at organization and structure. And
wow.
she's a task manager, right? I don't know how you find both of those at the level that she has them. I'm like, you sleep, right? Like, you know, if a patient emails on a Sunday at 6 p.m., usually by 6:15, they already have an appointment. And I've told
Wow.
Allison, I was like, that's not my expectation. I do not expect you to answer an email on a Sunday night when you're enjoying time with your family.
Yeah.
And she just will say, it's just better customer service if I get back to them right away, if I have time.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a raise.
That's amazing.
Oh,
Well,
and pay people well. You have to pay people well.
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's an employee engagement opportunity as well, right? Is just knowing the marketplace, knowing what the values are, and you know, competitively speaking, being in that you know, hopefully that top 25, 30% of payees, right? So awesome stuff. Cathy, what a pleasure. You know, you've been definitely one of those favorite type of conversations. I really, because you're local, right? I mean, we're like both Naperville people. And it's just so cool to hear someone that's really made a dynamic impact in a community that I think nationwide people know Naperville for good schools and for good community and all that stuff. But it's people like you that actually are the reason that personification of Naperville is out there, right? So I'm sure we have some bad stuff too, but you know, so
for sure.
But it's really cool to have you on the Go for CEO channel. Why don't you tell everybody just maybe some websites, some way to communicate? I know that you have leaders, obviously, in each organization that you run, but what are some best ways that people can reach out to you and you know, connect with you?
Sure. I would say the best email for me is Dr. Cathy at thebranchmoms.com. So that's DRCATHY at thebranchmoms. And then, you know, I'm kind of on all socials as Cathy Subber, Dr. Cathy Subber, you know, Instagram and Facebook. Our website for the branch is thebranchmoms.com. And then the practice is advancedhealthnaperville.com.
Awesome. Well, hey, Go for CEO community, you know, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this conversation. You know, it really is bringing you the CEOs, the founders, the entrepreneurs of local, just middle to upper middle class America, around the world too. We've had people from Ireland, and you know, we're recruiting people from Australia to get on the channel and stuff. So really great stuff. So thank you so much, Cathy, for joining the Go for CEO channel. Any last words?
You know what? I think the last words are, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You know the skills you have. Don't let fear get in the way of pushing past things. There have been times in my life that I've done that and it's never turned out well. And every time I just said, you know what, I'm going to freaking do this. And I did it. It usually worked out. So just go for it.
I might have to change it to Cathy the Bomb Subber. Dropping bombs.
We can share it, John.
I love it. Well, hey, thank you so much again. And again, Go for CEO community, another great opportunity to learn from a local, small to medium-sized business owner, CEO, founder, entrepreneur. So subscribe to the channel and keep on listening and leave a comment for Cathy. I know she'll interact with you and be a part of the communication. So thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks, John.